I started off as a fan of Dragon Ball Z first. Everyone loves it.
Princess Peach or Toad.
Like, what am I watching, man?
Hey folks, how are you doing? Happy Tuesday night. My name is Scott Schertzen alongside Mr. Rob Manning, who is in Buddy the Elf mode for Christmas, and joining us tonight on basically chatting with awesome people, actor, stunt person, and player of football players and movies, Mr. Chris Severio. Sir, how the heck are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I'm going to switch this over, get my dumb mug out of the face. So put your head on there. So right now, appreciate the time in this case here. We're going to talk a little bit about the movie Greater with you, Neil McDonough. Neil McDonough, obviously being a class act, known very well for things like, the DC Universe and a bunch of other stuff as well. We'll talk about your career, maybe some oddities that may have happened, some weird experiences you may have, share things like this. But let's kick things off. First of all, tell us your story, tell us about you, and tell us how you got going in the film industry to begin with.
Really, being in love with movies as a young kid, my dad was big into movies. And so at a young age, my mom was very into the rom-coms and my dad was into action sci-fis. And so I got, best of both worlds. And, just from a young age, that's what I really wanted to do. And my dad was still an independent filmmaker. And he really got me started at a young age because in high school, I graduated and I didn't really understand who I was and what I wanted to do. And he's like, well, son, you can go get a trade or you can go after what you want to do in life. And I was like, well, I want to do acting. And so, he helped me get into acting. And I started, taking acting classes and I did a few years of classes and workshops and studied as much as I could. And, that was really where I got my start. And at a young age, like I said, my dad was an independent filmmaker. So we were always making short little, films here and there. It was mostly sci-fi films and, it was right up my alley. It was right up his alley. So, it's what we love to do. And he's a knife maker and he still films all of his content. And so I still go to, his house from time to time to help him. And, we do stuff together. So it's basically keeping it in the family. And that's how I got started just because of our interests with film.
In a case like this, obviously the film industry can be a little bit tough to break into. So you got a little bit of an advantage there, not just from the independent side of it, but from the support side. Because, people sometimes with a little bit of an older generation are more prone to look at things from the safe path, get out of high school, go to college, get a job, do the proper path that way. In your case right now, obviously the advantage you had was you had someone who gets what you're trying to do, respected what you're trying to do, and in the process, helped you make it happen in some ways.
Yeah, absolutely. It was like anything that you want to do in life, it takes work and it's not just going to be handed to you. So, learning, to how to act and what, the history of what acting is and, wanting to do this as a day job or, do it as a working actor was going to take a lot of hard work and, a lot of sacrifice. And it still does till this day. Like, I'm still, auditioning every chance I get for a new project or a new film or commercial, so what I do is what I do. And that's what I love to do. And I don't think I'll ever be able to just stop.
It's funny. You mentioned the audition side of it. Obviously the audition process has changed a lot in the last few years, especially after COVID, because right now it's a lot more Zoom based, we're recording from the basement, which I find on one hand, both easier and also more difficult because it's easier on the commute, but tougher because you have so many more people going up for the same role. Are you seeing that too, or is it just me?
No, I see it. I see it all the time because, here recently I've been getting these auditions, back to back. And I've seen a few projects that I have auditioned for with people that have been in it. And I'm sitting there thinking like, man, I thought I really crushed that audition, but it just goes to show you how competitive it can be, especially now with, like you said, everything being virtual as far as like Zoom auditions and the callbacks that you receive. And these casting directors, that they're so good at what they do to be able to, have these actors and actresses come in to audition and be able to do it virtually. And it's a big difference from you being face to face on a Zoom call than it is being in person. You can almost relax as an actor. You can almost relax a little bit, because I feel it's a little heavier when you're in person doing an audition. And except you're at home, and I could do it. I could have a normal shirt on and I could be in my home, and you would never know. I could feel free.
Sure. Basically, yeah, as long as it's said from the chest up, you can be in your underwear and no one would notice.
Exactly.
Unless the role required it. But yeah, like I said, in this case here, it's a little different that way. Talk a little bit. We're going to talk about Grader. We're going to talk about a couple of things in a second. But on the way up, obviously you've been at this for a lot of years here. Talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you've had up at this point. The oddities, you talked about certain cases, you straight up nail a role. You're like, I got this. This is amazing. And then crickets. On the other side of it, though, you've also had those roles where you're like, oh my God, I was terrible at this. There is no way. And then suddenly, basically, you get a phone call. Yeah. I'm assuming that's happened to you on that side of the fence too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I try to put this in words that I can actually articulate. I stumble over my words from time to time. I've been on the side of auditioning and feeling like, man, I crushed this. But I've also been in that side where I feel like I've done 10 auditions and I'm like, man, I nailed this one. I nailed this one. I nailed this one. And then it's that overcoming feeling like, dude, you're not nailing it. You're not doing it because you're not getting a call. And then it's the one that's like, oh, this was horrible. This is the worst thing I've ever done. And then you get a call and it's like, hey man, are you available on this date to do this? And I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm ready to go. And I'm sitting there thinking like, what did they see? What was it that made them go, oh my goodness, this is it. This is the guy we need. So I've been on both sides of that fence. And it never gets old. It's always going to be nerve-wracking.
Sure. But again, like I said, it's a little easier doing it out of the basement.
Yeah.
Rob, what do you got, man?
I'm just happy, that you're here. What is one actor that you looked up to as a kid that kind of made you love movies, that inspired you to be an actor?
Well, since we're going to talk about Grader, I have a whole list of people who have inspired me, but Neil McDonough was on my list at a very young age. At a very young age, I was watching Band of Brothers. I was watching Walking Tall. I was watching Minority Report. He was a character in these movies that inspired me to want to be an actor. It was what he was able to portray on screen that was transferring to me to say, hey, this is what you could be. You could be, this. I don't know if I can cuss or not. I don't really want to cuss, but he's a BA. He's a total badass. And
the word ass. That wasn't that bad.
Yeah. But so he was a huge influence on wanting me to be an actor. And then, when it comes to Grader and being able to fill those shoes and the opportunity that I was given to play Brandon, getting to work with Neil was a dream come true. I've said this many times and I'll continue saying it. I had a dream of wanting to be a lead in a major film, and I wanted to work with one of my idols, and I got to do both in the same film, and that was a childhood dream that I got to accomplish. And not many people get to do that, and so I'm very grateful. And it was a humbling experience, and still to this day, it's one thing I can cherish and take with me and share with other people that maybe want to go the same route, or even if you're a young athlete and you're looking to play college ball or pro ball, you can still have huge dreams, and as long as you're going after them and you're chasing them and you're trying to do the thing, it can happen.
I guess since we're on the subject, let's talk about Grader in this case.
Yeah.
For me personally, being an 80s 90s kid, I remember the Brendan Bolesworth story. I remember the story in the mid 90s. I remember how it ended and things like this. So I think in this case here, and this happens a lot of times, I don't think, you didn't really know too much about football and sports in the arena in that general area, but you land a role like this. Obviously you talk about Neil McDonough, and then how did you get introduced to this story in this particular case? Because like I said, I remember the story from 25, 30 years ago. So in your case, how did you see it? How did you view it? What was your reaction when to this entire storyline?
So I got introduced to it on it was a weekday. And it was because of the audition that I got for this movie that I learned about Brandon's story. I got a call, and at the time I was sitting there, all these auditions that I had been doing left and right. I'm not exaggerating. I probably did around 100 auditions before I landed Greater, and in that, I really felt discouraged. I felt like this was it. I needed to hang it up. I needed to go ahead and try something different. Go get a trade, and that's what I was telling myself. And then I got a call from my agent, and she was like, "Hey, can you make it to New Orleans this afternoon and, do a read?" And I was literally thinking in my mind, telling her, go ahead and cancel it. I don't have the time for it. I don't have the energy. I'm just going to probably call it, hang it up and call it quits. And she said, "It's for a lead role." And I said, "Okay, I'll go do it." And my dad, actually, he had a audition for the same, for Greater as well. And so we both went up to New Orleans and to go audition for the film. And that's on the way there, I'm sitting there reading, what this character is and finding out that it's a true story, finding out that, who Brandon was. And I'm going to do a cold read audition. I was given like 8 or 9 pages of dialogue to do, and I had like 2 hours to travel to New Orleans, learn what I was supposed to put down in the audition, and convince the casting director that, hey, I should get a call back. So in that time, I'm finding out who Brandon is, and it hit me. It's like, man, this guy's journey is a lot like mine in a lot of ways. This is the guy who was counted out, and pretty much was, I'm walking in as a walk-on in life and in film, and a lot of people, and I'm not going to make names and point fingers, but I had many people tell me that I would never make it, or you could never accomplish this. This is something that could never happen for you. You're too big, and so I had all those things in my mind, and learning Brandon's story, it was just like, man, we're on this parallel right here. And if I can pass this off as like, hey, this guy is me, I'm just in a different lane, So learning a story in that time, I go and do the cold read and the casting director. I had done a few workshops with him, done a few auditions with him. Really loved the guy. He was great. And he felt that I did good. I left that day thinking I bombed. My dad felt great. My dad was like, man, he goes, I can't wait to get a call. I know I'm going to get a call for that. And I was like, and I was with him. So I saw his audition, and he did great. And I was leaving like so discouraged, and he was putting his hand on my shoulder. He's like, man, he goes, it's okay. He goes, you go in there and you're doing your job, the best you can. And the whole story of me getting the part is a whole, ordeal. But as far as the impact of what Brandon put on me was that was the stage, was me going to audition, learning who he was. That's when his story impacted my life, just because of our parallels.
It's funny you mentioned this. So your father auditioned. Did he audition to play your father, or was it a different role for him?
No, he auditioned to play, I believe it was the coach. Okay. You see the coach in the trailer, I believe it's the coach that's when he's playing Pee-wee football.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, was in this case here, obviously, was he disappointed on his behalf but proud on yours?
Absolutely. He was definitely. I mean, no. I think he's always put me up of like, trying to push me to do great things, and with anything, he just wants to see me do well. And I don't think there's any type of jealousy or anything like that. We've always had fun with it. I mean, when we did the callback audition, he personally drove with me all the way to Arkansas, because I live in Louisiana, and that's like a 13-hour drive from where I live to Fayetteville. And the whole time, that's all we talked about was film and this part. And we listened to music and pumping each other up and how awesome this was. And he kind of soaked it all in. Was like, this is going to be it. He was the one that believed more than I did, going into it. So I don't think there's ever been anything like that. He's always want to see me do well.
It's funny you mentioned that, the travel and everything like this. I told you beforehand, I mean, I live 8 miles from Manhattan. You know,
Yeah.
so you get a lot of people, especially in a hub like New York City, which is constantly booming with film, TV, theater. And it's funny because you hear a lot of actors and actresses complain about the subway ride for an audition or to go to set.
Yeah.
They would sit there and they'd complain that subway ride took them 25 minutes to get to set. And
Yeah.
meanwhile, you're driving 2 hours each way here, but there's a saying that says that, you do the things that others won't and you'll have the things that others don't. In your particular case, the travel is not really travel when there's a desire and a passion and a want there.
Yeah.
I think that defines you pretty well there.
Yes, sir. I believe that, for myself, and I believe this for anyone, everybody's put on earth for a purpose. And for me, even, at the age I am now, I'm married and I have children. I still, I'm trying to find ways to find purpose. And I know through filmmaking, that is for me, one thing that gives me purpose. And so I've always felt that I got to be willing to do something that most people won't do. And so traveling 13 hours for a slight chance of an opportunity, I'll take it. I'll take it today. Like if I got an audition, because I get submitted for stuff all over the United States. I even find stuff that I want to submit myself for, and I'm like, man, I'll go to North Carolina. I'll drive to North Carolina. That's no big deal to me, because I'm, like you said, I'm not thinking of it as travel. I'm thinking of it as an opportunity. I'm thinking of it as, hey, I want to land this job. I want to be able to create a character. I'm trying to let my creativity flow, and with acting, I've always felt that it's been a pathway for me to be able to open up and express myself, of who I am, because on a day-to-day basis, it's I can have my best friends, my family, but it's not so easy to open up and to really show myself. And then through acting, I think I'm able to do that. So that's one reason it gives me purpose. So yeah, I feel like you got to be willing, like if you really want something, you got to be willing to go get it.
Nice. Rob, you got anything? Or sorry, Buddy, do you have anything?
So I did want to say one thing. There was a comment earlier, Dawn.
That's my mom.
Dawn Duckworth.
Oh, Dawn. Yeah, she worked on Greater.
Yeah.
She love her to death.
She's the
great.
main reason why.
Yeah, actually, we got to know each other. Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
how I first met Chris, because I sent Scott a picture. I wasn't even thinking. I just sent it to him now. I was a Brandon Burlsworth kid.
Yeah, I remember that.
Center, and I was telling Dawn, I forgot how it got brought up, but she mentioned that she worked on Greater, and I was like, yo, I'm a Burlsworth kid.
Yeah.
And then she's like, well, I'm friends with the main guy. And I said, can I take your video and send it to him? And then wonderful Chris was working out in the gym and sent me a video back, was like, hey Robert, and then we became Facebook friends, and then it evolved to where we are now. So it's really cool what a small world it actually is.
So Rob, you didn't get to know Dawn through Running the Bases, because that was a movie.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's Running the Bases. I was in Running the Bases, and she did she was doing the same thing she did in Greater, as she was doing the dressing and stuff. And she mentioned, hey, I worked on Greater as well. And I was like, yo, and then that's when I told Dawn that I was a Burlsworth kid. And yeah, she sent the video to Chris.
Nice.
Chris sent a reply video. And then I found Chris on Facebook. He accepted. And
hey, we got to give Dawn props, because she did a lot. She did a lot in that film, working especially for me, getting my clothes, because love that.
Yeah, you'll never tell which one is me.
I think you sent me that picture actually before, and you asked me if I could tell.
Let me swing it this way.
Oh, sorry. Let's do it like that.
There we go.
Yeah, I wonder which one's me. For anyone that doesn't
probably not the one with the long.
I'm over here pointing at it like it's right there, but you can't.
So yeah,
dude, I'm telling you, bro.
He's like right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I did send Chris that picture because my mom was going through her stuff, and I found my Burlsworth picture, and I was like, "Yo, here's proof." So yeah, really cool experience, and I love how you got to bring the character alive and make that story even go more well known.
Yeah, absolutely.
The moment when I went to my Walmart and they were playing Greater on the freaking screen.
Really?
Yes, it does help that I live in Arkansas, which is where the movie was filmed. But yeah, it's crazy. So yeah.
All right, so I got to go into this in the back. You got the Return of the Jedi poster in the back behind you.
Yeah, I got a bunch of stuff in my room. I got Power Rangers right there. I have a wall in front of me that is my DC wall, and I have Joker and Superman and Batman and Harley Quinn. I have a huge picture of all the Justice League. I have 2 walls filled with VHS tapes and action figures and signs. Like, I'm a nerd.
Oh,
dude, be proud of that. But you said you're very DC heavy, not Marvel.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm both. I am both. I am more heavily into DC because I do collect the McFarlane line. I've really been big into McFarlane line the past few years. So I think I have over 200 figures from McFarlane.
Nice.
Dude, when I'm saying I have stuff that I haven't even opened. I got, my wife got me this recently.
We'll come back to that question in a sec. I promise. I just want to go full screen. No. Bring it up.
Okay.
There's a question on that, but I want to just get a closer view of it. Wow, that's from Batman Forever.
Yeah. And what's funny is everybody craps on Batman Forever, but as a child, that was it's not my Batman, but it is one of my favorite Batmans because it's what I grew up with. Mm-hmm. So I kind of love it. So I'm really obsessed with the Batman Forever stuff. I have other Batmobiles in the back corner, all kinds of stuff.
I think people more crap on Batman and Robin than they do Batman Forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he was iced to meet you.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk too much about me in this case, but the first stunt role that I did in a movie was Dark Knight Rises, and I know that movie kind of gets dunked on a little bit, but for, like I said, when you have a certain emotional passion to something, it doesn't really matter how good or bad it is. It's your emotional tie to it that matters. So I totally get where you're coming from with Batman Forever. Now, we did have a question here. Basically, Brandon Bulworth's my cousin, and I love seeing you play him in Greater. I was wondering, how did you prepare to play Brandon and the steps it took you to portray him as well as you did? So, thank you, Jordan.
Yeah, it's a great question. So,
that's cool.
I got there a few weeks before we got into production, as far as filming, actually. And I was given a lot of tape on Brandon. Mm-hmm. And I was working one-on-one with his mom and his brother Marty. I got to meet and talk to them every day, get to really learn Brandon's character. And then we had conversations with the director and the producer. They both were also the writer for the screenplay of Greater. That was from Eyes of a Champion, from the novel. So I also had that novel as well, and so I spent a few weeks up there taking all that in, and I had never played football before. I know now that I should have, and I probably would have loved it, but I got to learn how to play football. I worked with these collegiate athletes that were, that played pro ball as well in the NFL. My stunt double that's in the film. Matt Lillard, I believe, if I remember his name correctly, is Matt Lillard.
Not the Matthew Lillard, but
not Matthew Lillard. I could be saying his last name wrong, and forgive me, Matt. And he was great. I remember him playing for a few different teams, but getting to learn how to play football and really get in the pads and get in the trenches and hit a little bit for like the close-up shots because I'm a pretty solid, big guy, but these guys they tower over me. They're I feel like over 2 feet taller than I am and another foot wider than me. And they were all great, but I really got to learn Brandon's character through his family and with the director and the producer of the film, sitting down and having these conversations. And what we see on camera, on screen, that has a lot of influence from his family because I have said this many times and I'll continue saying it. I just wanted to make sure that what we were doing, for the film was, made them happy, made his family feel that they were getting, what they needed out of this as well. And it just wasn't for me, this great opportunity being a lead. It was creating something that would be able to touch other people's lives, for years to come.
I think in this case here, and this applies to Jordan too, but there had to have been an emotional mixed bag for the family, and given the way Brandon's story ended and everything. On one hand, grateful and honored that but at the same time knowing where everything goes in this case and his tragic passing and everything. So that's probably adds to a lot of the challenge of it, because
absolutely.
where the story ends, and you have to so perfectly capture exactly what the playing career and the emotions that are involved, because they have quote Eminem, you only got one shot.
It's not funny. It's something I say a lot. It's the thing about playing a real life character. I mean, a real life person is that you got to make it right by the family and what the director is wanting. And so it was a constant struggle for me on a day-to-day basis where I'm trying to create this character that Matt Leonard, thank you for correcting me. I'm trying to create this character and trying to use my creativity to show this person on screen, but also I got to rein back and follow what's right as to who this person was, and what the director wants. So that was a daily struggle, because there was times, I'm still at that point filming. I was new as far as I was a walk-on actor. I was very new to the industry, and I'm still learning. I learn something new every day. But at the time, I was really learning and trying to soak things in and understand. And for me, it was a struggle.
Obviously, you pulled it off very well, though, despite everything.
I appreciate that.
So,
thank you.
So, Rob, what else you got, if anything?
I've got
I got two more maybe for me, but
no, you're good. But what is one of your favorite memories on set for Greater?
Oh man, I got a good bit of them. I'll tell you a few. One is we were on set. We were doing football scenes at the stadium at the U of A. And it was a day I wasn't wearing a fat suit. It was a scene between me and Frederick Lane. He was a coach, and he's telling me the horse manure joke. Mm-hmm. And so we're going through that. I really liked him because he played Yellow Eyes on Supernatural. Okay. And so I knew of him before filming. Really, really loved getting to know him. And during that day, between shots, Neil would come to me and treat me like a brother. He'd come and have conversation with me, and then we would throw football. We would literally wrestle or slap box, and it was like the greatest thing. And it's actually part of that shot that's on camera is on the screen was one of the days that we were doing that with each other, and it really felt like a bond that was being created while we were filming that. Like, he is really my brother. He's showing how much he cares. And then me on the outside of it as being a fan, I'm like, dude, I'm throwing football with Neil McDonough. The dude wants to wrestle. He wants to slap box. And so it really felt, I was on another high. So that's one of my favorite memories.
Surreal would be the word.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
And another fun memory was the night we did the dinner scene where I get drunk with the virgin daiquiris because there was no alcohol in them. They were delicious, and my sugar probably went up super high. And we were eating the food, and at the time I was really big. I'm still big, but not near as big as I was. I kept eating. I just every take I was eating something. And the production came to me and like, hey, we only have a limited amount of food, kind of hold it back a little bit. So I think that night was like a real good buffet that I had.
And then basically you break for lunch and have catering.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or sandwich o'clock even.
It's like I'm so hungry.
Those were two good memories. A lot of the memories I enjoyed were doing a lot of the action stuff, like the montage scenes of being physical and like running up the stadium with Neil, and he's above me and he's hyping me up, cheering me on. That type of stuff I love. So doing anything that was action, I was like I couldn't get enough of it. Now
you mentioned that you had a stunt double.
Yes.
did you get to do some of your own stunts, or did he basically
Yeah.
do all the?
So he did. I'm not taking any credit away from Matt. He did a phenomenal job, and he did a lot. He did a lot, and it's because of the size comparison that's on screen. Because when I'm next to these guys, I had to be in a shoe lift. Sometimes I had to have apple boxes to walk on, like in a path, just to seem like I was as tall as these guys. We had a plank piece of wood that was about 3.5 to 4 inches thick. I still have it, and it's called the Burls Maker. And so it was a platform that I stood on to make me look as big as these guys. So any wide shot, it's more than likely it's probably Matt that you're seeing. Sure. And any close-ups, or tighter shots, it's me. But he did a phenomenal job. But one thing I love that they gave me permission to do is really get to hit these guys. I know they held back, but there's a scene in the movie that was cut where I get punched in the face. The fist goes through my mask and I get punched in the face. We faked it, and then it actually happened, so we didn't have to fake it, but they cut the scene anyway. So I really got in the trenches one night, and guy's hand went through my mask and popped me and got a little bloody. But it was all good. I loved it. I was like, I want to do more. And they were like, oh, well, we got to do wide shots now because we got to do the size comparison. So I was like, oh, I'm kind of bummed. But I think there's even there. I want to say Dawn took a picture of me sitting in a lounge chair. One night it's like 11 o'clock, at night, and we're filming football scenes, and I'm like just chilling, like, because I'm waiting to do something, so I'm kind of being relaxed. But Matt did a phenomenal job.
Don, if you have that picture, you want to send that real quick. If you can find it, I'll show it.
See if we can pull that up. Obviously, with the distance shots, for those that aren't fully aware, a lot of times they can use the stand-in. They can use the body. They can pull in a body double for the day. In this case, just somebody from a distance in this regard, especially if it's one of those things where it's over your shoulder. Exactly. It's just somebody who has to basically match. It's not that bad. But the apple box thing doesn't surprise me that much, or the half plank or whatever it ends up being. How tall are you, by the way?
6 foot.
You're 6 foot, and you're still shorter than the rest of them.
So much shorter. These guys towered over me. I was sitting there like every time we like huddle up and talk about stuff, I'm sitting there like like so.
But you're number one on the call sheet, so you can be like, now listen here.
I could say sit down. No.
Sit down, yeah. Listen to me right now. You kneel down so you look over.
And Neil's I think a little taller than me. I think he's about 6'1". Like, he doesn't look that tall, but he's tall.
The camera can be so absolutely deceptive on stuff like that in both ways.
Oh yeah.
According to IMDb, it says Neil should be the same height as you at 6 foot.
I think he's a little taller, unless he's wearing lifts. Unless he's wearing lifts in his shoes too. I can remember I felt he was always a little taller than me, if it was in regular shoes.
Nice. So
that's it. That's
hang on,
Here's the famous picture.
Clearly, the life of an actor is a very stressful thing, isn't it?
Yeah, she captured it so well.
But in this case here, how many days and how was the weather? 42 days shoot or 28? I'm guessing.
I know we shot for 2 months, but I was there a few weeks prior. But as far as shooting, I think it was 48. We shot June and July. I got back in August, and I got there in May. Okay. So I think it might have been 48. I think it was 48. Okay. About a month and a half, maybe.
Right. We got a question here. What was your favorite line from the movie? Either that or either that you said or another actor said. Me personally, I'm an athletic trainer, so the scene where Brandon gets the glasses and the gentleman portrayed Anthony Lucas says, "Then fire the trainer." Makes me laugh every time.
My favorite line in the movie, I'm trying to remember who it comes from. It might have been Anthony Lucas that said it. And it's the same scene where I get my glasses. He says, "Is that no sex specs?" And it's the way he delivers it is great. Oh, I'll tell you a story about the filming. There's a scene where all the guys are in the dorm rooms and they're all making fun of me, and I got to go in there. And there's a part, I'm trying to remember correctly if it's in the movie or if they took it out. I can't remember. I haven't seen the movie in a while. there's a scene where I drop my keys or something. I have to get on the ground to pick it up, and Anthony, Texas's character Anthony walks up behind me and slaps me, and he hits me on the butt. And we did that take like maybe 13 times where I'm getting slapped on the ass 13 times, and he is smacking the ever living crap out of me. I mean, I probably couldn't sit for a day or so afterwards because he was coming up every time, just wailing me, and I felt it. And if they would have showed tears in that one, it would have been absolute real because it was so painful.
Yep. And after a while, you start to grit your teeth because you know the next one's coming and you can't do anything about it.
Oh, yeah. I'm biting my gums, making them bleed. I'm like, oh, let me catch you out of here. Let me catch you out of here.
Yeah. And in this case here, obviously, they're very method with this. They got to make it look realistic. And every single time, the area is hurting worse. So it hurts worse with every single take. And you're like, please, for the love of God, will someone check the gate here?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So can you explain? So Don sent me a picture.
Okay.
Got the sexy Brandon.
Oh yeah. That was the day we're shooting the scene where I'm in the bathroom putting deodorant on, and Grant comes in and asks me if I want to go on a date with all of them. I'm silly when it comes to being off camera. I like making people laugh and being just friendly. And so I would do stuff like, I think she has a few pictures of me doing that same thing. Like there's a scene where we're running at night in the rain, and I had my fat suit on. Did I have my fat suit on? I might not have had the suit on, but I was in clothes soaking wet, and I was posing just the same way, just to do anything to make people laugh, especially when you're filming for 13 hours going on past midnight. You're hitting 1 to 2 a.m. and you're just ready to go home. So I tried to be cheerful and get a good laugh for someone.
Yeah, well, that's the other side of it too. Once you hit Fridays or even Fridays, where that Thursday goes into Friday into Saturday, and then you got to be back 7 a.m. on Monday. How was the weather? Did that at least hold out?
The weather. So it was crazy. The weather was weird. I got up there at the beginning of I got up there in the beginning. No, I got there at the end of April because I was there doing a table read on May 2nd, and that was my birthday. And on May 2nd, it snowed. and so that was the craziest thing. It was so cold. It started snowing, and then a week later we start filming, and it's the hottest thing close to Louisiana because the humidity's there. And I wound up getting sick while we were filming. I think it was like, the second or third week into filming, I wound up getting upper respiratory infection and was running fever. And I think the weather change just kind of, kicked me in the butt. But other than that, it being hot, it just felt like Louisiana heat for the most part. But the beginning of May was great because it snowed on my birthday and I loved it.
By the way, someone apparently enjoys your misery.
Oh,
yeah, Don. Yeah.
Here's
him in this fat suit. Don just sent me this picture.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? Let me ask you about this thing here. Obviously, was that tough on your lower back? Because you hear stories about that sometimes with those suits.
No, it was fairly light as far as it being on, except when you made it to like the 6 hours you've been in it. And you've been in that, you're in the heat, you're in full pads and football gear, and then you're losing so much weight and from water, from losing water weight. That's what was crippling, filming for so long in the heat and football pads and a fat suit. So, and what's funny is there's a point where like I'm not wearing a fat suit, I'm wearing a fat suit, and I'm not wearing a fat suit, but I'm supposed to be a lot smaller. So they filmed it with, filmed the timeline of me filming like with my regular body, then with the fat suit, and then with it off, and I was supposed to be lighter. I had to put on a girdle to make me look smaller, but I had lost like 15 pounds in water weight, for that week of shooting without it. I had lost a few extra pounds, but as soon as that week was over and I really didn't have to wear it anymore, I started hydrating up so fast.
Nice.
Also, you are right. Don had more pictures of.
Yeah.
All we're doing is just showing pictures here. I'm not minding. I don't think we've ever shown that many pictures off a cell phone in any conversation we've had so far.
She was catching me in my moment.
Yeah, Razorbacks. It was disturbingly hot. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Razorback Stadium had a rubber field. Yes, it was absolutely.
How many times did you have to hear the Razorback chant?
6,322.
Actually, 6,323. Just yeah.
Yeah.
You had that one rehearsal.
One more time.
Exactly. One more for safety.
I've been retired.
Oh.
Actually, I went. Was it? It might have been 2 years now. I actually had a buddy of mine, Mike. My buddy Mike brought me up to Fayetteville for a game. Me and my wife drove up there, and we stayed up there, and he got us to a game, and they brought me down to the field and to do Call the Hogs. I got to meet the Burroughs kids, and that was a really cool, and that was a surreal experience as well, because I've been knowing about the Burroughs kids and the program for so many years, and it was a great opportunity getting to meet some kids and have a conversation with them and get to go on the field and call the Hogs. That was really cool. I got to meet Miss Arkansas. That was cool. Nice. My wife wanted to kill me. You know, she's like, "John, what's you taking a picture with her?"
Well, you know what? It's publicity for the movie here.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Rob, do you have anything more? I figure we're going to start wrapping this up, I think.
Oh, well, there was did we have any other comments we wanted to make about?
Let's see. I wish I knew how to attach a photo to a comment.
Because if we don't have anything else from Great, I do have something else to bring up.
You do? Okay, that's fine. So, Jordan, can you post it the comment in the chat as a comment? And then Rob, can you check that comment to see if you can pull it up?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we can. We got Rob with another device. That's why I just.
Oh, he was working with two phones at the same time. You know what? Let's actually, in this case here, let's talk a little bit about that. Obviously, you've had a career outside of that. You know, talk a little bit about some of the other things that you've had, some of the successes that you've had in that arena as well. There was one picture I wanted to pull up if I can find it.
Yeah, I have a Actually, I have a film that's going to be coming out within the next year, at the beginning of the year. It's called One by One.
Mm-hmm.
It's a faith-based film based on David Rosenau,
Okay.
who was an undercover narcotics detective. And I get to play a small part in that film. We did that up in Illinois last November. It was a really awesome experience. I loved it. I loved the character I got to play, and I got to be a little creative with him. As you know, as what I got to do. So that's coming out. It's actually open for pre-order.
Okay.
Is it not already out?
It's open for pre-order. I don't think it's out on streaming just yet.
Well, because
I could be wrong.
People have already given it a 9.8 out of 10.
Oh well, they've had a premiere and a few screenings.
Okay.
And they've gone. I think they've gone and done reviews for the film.
Okay, because I was gonna say, yeah, it does give it credit. It says 2024. Here is the movie you're talking about.
Yeah, that's Lance Brown on the cover of that playing David Rosenau. He was great. I love getting to work with him. As soon as we were on set together, I played one of his friends in the film, who's also a detective.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment we got on camera together, we went well. There's another guy that's in the film. His name's Michael, and he is brilliant. He plays another detective, and I got to meet him, and he is a great actor that I've become friends with. So it was a really great opportunity, and met some wonderful people in the process.
So I got to ask this one.
Okay.
This
beer night. Beer night.
Yeah, that's just all it is, just beer night.
It's just beer night. So at the time of filming that was with 20th Century Fox that was doing a web series at the time, and the show was called Suit Up. We did 2 seasons. The director is Christopher Leone. I love working with him. He was great. He's done a few other things, some sci-fis and stuff like that. So this character was basically a drunken mascot. He was an unofficial mascot for a college team. And then he becomes the official mascot. It's hard. I think it's still hard to find. I think you can buy it off of Amazon Prime if you want to see it. that was like my first step into doing something silly. The audition process for that was great because, you know, I went into the audition and the casting director, he just told me, he's like, man, when you go on camera, just go nuts. And I looked at him, I was like, what do you mean go nuts? And he goes, just go buck wild. Think you're a mascot and you're drunk. And I was like, all right. And so I went to town and I ripped I literally, the shirt I wore, I ripped off of me and I was slinging it around and he was laughing. And so I think that got me some brownie points with that and got me the character, because he just said, you know, go in and be silly. And that's what I did. But, you know, there's a lot of big people in the show that are, you know, big now. And I wish we could have done a few more seasons of that. It was a lot of dry humor, which I really loved, you know.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Jordan isn't able to actually do that.
So I messaged you, Jordan. So if you want to message back,
I was going to say that'll work
before we do get off. But no, one thing I wanted to bring up is so it's got you on IMDb listed as in Universal Soldiers: Day of the Reckoning.
Yeah.
Can you talk about your time on? Did you get
man? I met Dolph Lundgren and nice. I met Jean-Claude Van Damme. Dolph Lundgren was amazing. So I had a featured background. This is when I was doing background work. So I had this featured role and it was cut. No big deal. Great experience. I got to meet Dolph. So right. I got
paid though.
Yeah, I got paid, dude. That's what it was about. It was money. But so there's a scene in the movie where Dolph is talking to all the soldiers and he's giving this big old speech. And while we were filming that day, you know, he's doing this whole speech to all the guys. And when he gets done, the director said cut. And so I kind of yelled out in the moment, you know, just because I'm that person to do stuff. The director yells cut, and I just yelled out, "If he dies, he dies." And Dolph, you know, he said a few choice words, but you know, I can't say them because it's a lot of profanity. But he was like, "You're effing right," and I was like, I could take that to my grave. That was the greatest moment of my life.
Nice,
you know, bring a little Rocky into it,
right?
So.
Yeah, no, I saw that when I looked you up earlier, and I thought that was hilarious that you were in that. Yeah. And you were an Abraham Lincoln vampire hunter.
Yeah, I got to play a Union soldier. That was awesome because they had a lot of, even though it's heavy in special effects in the film, there was tons of practical effects, which I loved. And so we had to actually, as a Union soldier, as any soldier that was on set, was basically going through reenactment training and learning how to be a soldier and hold the weapons and load them and fire them and how they would, you know, strategically place their soldiers and everything like that. So we got to do that. I think I filmed for like 2.5 weeks, but there's this scene where there's the vampires coming down the hill and we're all getting ready to fire at them. And then there's these huge, you know, 100-foot explosions that are occurring. And in the film, they almost they kind of look fake, but they were not. There was real explosions occurring and these loud booms. And it was awesome because that day that they filmed those shots, one of the producers on the film was Tim Burton, and he was there. And I didn't get to meet him, but I stood like 3 feet from him, you know, and listened to his conversations and got to hear him talk. And I was like, I wanted to take my phone out and be like, just a quick picture, please, you know. But you know, you're told not to and not to talk to him and all that during filming. So I held back, but man, it itched me so bad. I just wanted to say hello and get to meet him, you know. But he was a really sweet guy.
Did you get to meet Anthony Mackie?
I did not. He was never there while I was filming, so I never got to meet him. I know he has a house in New Orleans, and I hear that he's spotted quite a bit, but I have never met him. You know, but that would have been really cool.
Yeah,
get to meet the new Captain America.
Exactly.
Well, I think Falcon Winter Soldier, I think took place in New Orleans, didn't it?
Yeah, so a lot of it was you know, placed in New Orleans, but I don't know if they actually filmed in New Orleans. I could be wrong, but
it did take place. You mentioned that.
Yeah, because his character is from New Orleans.
Nice. So,
And there's the last one I gotta mention because I just want to know if you met him. You were in Stolden with Nicolas Cage.
I did get to meet Nick. We were filming this scene where he's walking through a lobby where he's running through the lobby and he's trying to get to on a ferry, I believe, or that's where the setting took place. And me and him were walking by each other all day. And we just were walking by each other. And like I said, I'm that person to do something silly or outrageous. And this is one of those times where I let it out. And so I walked by him and I kind of nudged him. And I turned around. I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were someone else." And his response was beautiful. He just turned around and smiled. He's like, "Oh, yeah, right." And he kept going. And then we were passing each other all day. And he would just, he's really sweet about it. He was just, gave me a nod every now and then. And I was like, "Yeah, I got in good with Nick. Yeah, that's right." I was like, "He's a buddy now."
But these, like I said, these are the stories that you can tell forever. Now, we'll probably have to wrap up in a couple minutes. But it's always funny, I think, and you understand this. When you go out to a party or you go out to dinner, the questions that you get are not usually normal. They're usually, now, who did you meet this time? Where are you working right now? Have you met anybody famous? Who did you see in the last 3 weeks? Did you see anybody special? And it's like, I just want to sit here and just, watch Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, that's right. I get my biggest one that I get is asking like to see pictures of people I've met, because I can tell stories and then people want to see pictures like, can you show me the picture of you meeting this person? And I'm like, excuse me. I was like, no, I can't. It's just an experience that I got to have, and I didn't get to capture every one on camera, which I wish I could have.
I was gonna say, speaking of capturing pictures, I do have that other picture.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that was the day. Like shirt. Yeah, actually, I have that shirt. I'm gonna have it framed. I have it put up at the moment. I had all the kids that were there that day. They all signed my shirt for me. They signed that shirt so I could have signatures from all the Burroughs kids that were there that day.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I just heard you almost got blown up in gas leak. Dawn showed this picture and said something about you literally almost got blown up.
Oh, I think we were filming that day and there was a gas leak on set and we had to like move away from the area at the time. And so I stood behind the garbage can for a little while just in case.
Nice.
All right, we're done with the phone, but I was like, she said gas leak and try not to get blown up. But I'm like, we got to hear that story.
So, we might as well wrap this up. Obviously, your Instagram and your Twitter or X are down below. How else can people reach out to you if they want to? And basically, what are you willing to basically talk about and not talk about?
Talk about whatever. I'm here for. I'm not the type of person to. I'll read all my messages and then I'll respond to everyone that I can. I'm on most social medias at C Severio, like y'all have posted. I'm Instagram, TikTok. But if you feel like you want to reach out and have a conversation, reach out, please. I'm always there. My phone's with me, and if I don't respond right away, at some point I promise I'll get back to you, and we'll
eventually
have a conversation.
I'm wanting to contest. He'll eventually. It may be a couple weeks later.
It might be, but I will. I'll go through everything. I'm like, okay, I gotta make sure to respond, and have a conversation, because I know, and I know people are busy. I know people have their own lives, but there's actors or directors that I wish that I could reach out and have a conversation with, just to pick their brain and just say what's up. Hey, I admire you or whatever. And I get that, these people have a certain status or they get so many requests or, their messages are flooded with people every day, and maybe they're not socially engaged on social media. But I feel that if you're taking the time out to reach out to me, I will do my best to get back with you, because at the end of the day, you're human, so am I, and I'm not above you. We can be side by side and get to know each other, and it's just the way I think, and that's how I was raised. I was raised to be a human being and not think that I'm above anyone else.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Thank my mother on that one, because if I don't, she would beat my head in. If you're listening.
Thanks, Mrs. S.
Is there anything you want to plug or promote? I know you did mention the movie that's coming up. Is there anything else you want to plug and promote before we do get off of here?
At the moment, I just want to plug One by One. That film's coming out. I hold it dear to my heart. It was a great and fun project. I feel that this is something I can say that with the director of the film, he has this family that he's doing with his studio he has in Illinois. He's done a few other faith-based films, and I would like to continue and be able to do more of those films. So One by One's coming out here soon. You can pre-order it now. Faith-based film based on David Rosenau, who is an undercover narcotics detective. And I get to have a little fun in it. I get to get to point some guns and take it out on a bad guy or two. So
do we have a release date? I know you said it's on pre-order, but do we have a release date by chance?
I don't have a release date at the moment, but I can find out.
Will it come to theaters, or because it has a pre-order, no theaters?
I think it's going to go straight to streaming services. Okay. I think that if they do theoretical release in the theaters, it will be limited. It is it's a smaller budget film, but it is something that's going to be very impactful for people to see. It's telling this true story for people to relate to. Showing that you could be going through life, dealing with all these things that you're dealing with, especially as someone like a narcotics detective. We may not understand what these guys are going through, but it shows his story of, finding his faith in God, what he goes through in life. And it shows his journey. And I think a lot of people can relate to that.
So, love it. All right. So appreciate it. Yeah.
One last question, because if I don't ask it, I'll hit myself. Mr. Chris, serious question for you. What is your favorite color?
Probably be black.
Okay.
I literally my entire most of my clothes are black shorts, black jeans, black shirts. I've always been. I do have other favorite colors, like I love neon green, love red, but black is always a solid.
Nice, easy go to there. Offsets the skin color a little bit nicely.
That's right.
So, love it. All right, Chris, I appreciate the time. You were nothing short of fantastic on this. One more time, basically, if you want to reach out to him, find him, Instagram, Twitter, C Severio, pretty much in every aspect all the way through. Chris,
are you on TikTok too?
Yes, I am on TikTok.
Okay.
I don't post a lot anymore, but I am on TikTok. I post from here and there. Is
it the same thing?
Yep. C Severio.
Okay. Put it that way. So, all right, yeah. So, like I said, man, you've been fantastic. I've been grateful for every minute of this, but I want to respect your time because you do have a family, and like I said, I want to respect that part of it.
I appreciate it.
But no, appreciate you, man. So, thanks as always. Take care. On behalf of Mr. Severio, Mr. Robert, Buddy the Elf Manning, my name is Scott Schertzen. This is Chatting with Awesome People as part of Tales from the Film Set, as part of Streampunk Cinema, as part of Streampunk Entertainment. Anyway, you guys have a great night. Take